I couldn't explain what exactly was bothering me. I just sat there, staring at her photo. It was supposedly taken a few weeks ago, her and her friend at the beach. A beautiful picture, no doubt. But something about it kept nagging at me. A feeling I couldn't shake off. I opened the file's properties. The date had been changed. Renamed. It wasn't taken weeks ago. It was from 2 days ago. The exact same day she said she had to work late. Not a coincidence. That was the day she was with him. I placed the phone on the table and stared at the screen. At her face. A face I now looked at very differently. I didn't know what I was doing or thinking anymore. My name is Daniel Mercer. I've been with Claire for 8 years. Married. 8 years of what I thought was a solid, loyal relationship, built on trust and mutual respect. I'm a civil engineer. My job is to notice the small things, the inconsistencies. I'm trained to spot flaws before they lead to collapse. But somehow, I missed the cracks in my own marriage. God knows how long they've been there. That photo wasn't the first clue. Now that I think about it, there were many signs. The late nights at work, the sudden interest in new clothes, subtle changes, like how she talked about her day, or how she always placed her phone face down. Then came the password. I grabbed my laptop and checked the photo's metadata. The location? Havana Beach Bar and Grill. Not the public beach where she said she went with Stephanie. I'd never heard of the place, so I looked it up. It was an upscale resort, an hour away, with its own private beach. My stomach turned. The photo showed Claire in a black bikini, one I'd never seen before, laughing, a drink in her hand. Her friend wasn't even in the shot. Just Claire, the ocean behind her, and part of a man's arm. The doorbell snapped me out of it. I quickly locked my phone and went to answer it. "Hey man," Ryan said, my best friend since college. He held a six-pack in his hand. "Thought you might want to catch the game. Claire said she's out with the girls again tonight." "Yeah, come on in," I said, stepping aside. But then I paused. "Hey, Ryan, did Claire mention who exactly she's going out with?" He shrugged. "I think she said something about Stephanie, maybe a few people from work." I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. I nodded, trying to sound casual. "Did she say where they're going?" "Some new wine bar downtown, I think," Ryan said, giving me a curious look. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's fine," I lied, leading him to the living room. Just wondering when to expect her back. We watched the game, but my thoughts were somewhere else. I kept checking my phone, tempted to call her, track her location, anything to confirm what I was thinking or prove I was wrong. What if there was a perfectly good explanation? Ryan left around midnight. Claire still wasn't home. I sent her a message. "Everything okay? Getting late." A few minutes later she replied, "Girls' night is running long. Don't wait up." I opened our shared location app. It showed her downtown, but the signal hadn't updated in over an hour. I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. I paced around the living room. Should I go downtown? But where? I didn't even know which bar. Was I being paranoid? Jealous? I didn't know. But then I did something I had never done before. I opened her laptop. It was password protected, just like I expected. I tried her birthday. No. Our wedding date. Still no. Her mother's name. Wrong again. Then I tried the name of her first pet, a cat named Whiskers. She'd had it since she was 8. The screen lit up. Her email account was still open. I scrolled through her emails, feeling like a thief in my own home. There was nothing unusual in her inbox. But then I checked her sent messages, and there it was. An email to a private Gmail address. The subject line read, "This weekend, Michael." It said, "I told Daniel I have a conference in Chicago this weekend. The flight is supposedly Friday at 3 p.m. I'll meet you at the cabin around 7. I can't wait to feel your arms around me again. Forever yours, Claire." My hands trembled. Michael. Who the hell was Michael? I Googled the name together with Claire's. Nothing. I checked her LinkedIn connections. Still nothing. No Michael that made sense. Then I heard a car pulling into the driveway. I quickly closed the laptop and moved to the kitchen. Grabbed a glass of water. Tried to steady my breathing. Claire walked in. Her cheeks were red, her hair a little messy. She wore a black dress I had never seen before. Definitely not the kind of thing you'd wear for a casual wine night with girlfriends. "Hey," she said, surprised to see me still awake. "You didn't have to wait up." "Couldn't sleep," I replied, watching her carefully. How was your evening? Nice, she answered, a little too upbeat. Stephanie had a bit too much to drink, so I made sure she got on the subway. Line number 1. So, which wine bar did you go to? I asked casually. Ryan mentioned there's a new one downtown. She hesitated for a split second. Oh, it's called Vino Veritas. On Market Street. Very chic. Line number 2. I was just on Market Street last week. There's no new wine bar there. Sounds nice, I said. Maybe we could go sometime? Definitely. She smiled, setting her handbag down. I'm heading up to take a shower and then straight to bed. I'm exhausted. As she walked upstairs, I noticed something else. She slipped her phone into her purse. The old Claire would have just left it on the kitchen counter. I stayed in the kitchen for a long time, listening to the sound of the shower upstairs. I kept thinking about that so-called conference in Chicago. It was supposed to be this weekend. The next morning, Claire was her usual self, cheerful, efficient, and focused on packing for the trip. I pretended nothing was wrong and helped her choose outfits. I even suggested she pack her new black dress for the networking dinner. Good idea, she said and kissed me on the cheek. As I watched her drive off to the airport, my chest tightened. We talked about the usual things: work, the weather, plans for next month. She kissed me goodbye in the departure area. I'll call you when I land, she promised. Have a good flight, I said and watched her disappear into the terminal with her suitcase. But I didn't leave. I parked in short-term parking, then quietly slipped into the terminal. I watched from a distance as she checked in, not for a flight to Chicago, but for one to Asheville, North Carolina. Cabins. Mountains. Michael. I didn't follow her through security. I walked back to my car and made a decision. I would go to Asheville. It was about a 4-hour drive. I went home, packed a small bag, and hit the road. The drive gave me too much time to think. Every memory we'd made now felt stained. I couldn't stop wondering, was she thinking about him last month, when we celebrated our anniversary? Was he on her mind last week, when we made love? Using the information from her email, I tracked down a cabin rental company. I pretended to be Michael and called, saying I had a problem with the reservation. The woman confirmed a booking under his name, at a place called Whispering Pines Cabins. I arrived in Asheville around 6:30 p.m., found the cabin complex, and parked a short distance away where I wouldn't be seen. At exactly 7:12 p.m., Claire pulled up in a rental car in front of cabin 8. She looked excited, nervous, beautiful. I watched as she checked her makeup in the rearview mirror before stepping out. A few minutes later, another car arrived. A black Audi. A tall man with dark hair stepped out, carrying a travel bag and a bottle of champagne. From where I sat, I saw her throw herself into his arms the moment she opened the door. They kissed, long, deep, like lovers who had missed each other terribly. Right there in the doorway, I felt physically sick. I had seen enough. I started the car and drove off, checked into a hotel nearby, and collapsed on the bed, shattered. My world was in pieces. I spent hours tormented by mental images of them together. But in the end, I made a decision. I would confront her. Not in anger, not in a rage. I needed to see her face when she realized. I knew. I needed to hear the truth from her own lips. I drove back to the cabin the next morning and waited. Around noon, she came out, hand in hand with him, heading toward a hiking trail. I followed them from a distance. I watched as they laughed, kissed, and stopped to take pictures of each other. Eventually, they reached a scenic viewpoint. That's when I walked up to them. Claire saw me first. The color drained from her face. "Daniel?" she gasped, her voice shaky. "Hello, Claire," I said, trying to stay calm, even though my heart was pounding. "Don't act like I'm just some guy. Don't pretend I'm not your husband." Michael looked confused, then shocked, as realization hit him. "You're her husband?" I nodded and held out my hand, more out of habit than anything else. "Daniel Mercer. And you must be Michael, the reason my wife had to fake a business trip to Chicago." Claire quickly stepped between us. "Daniel, please. I can explain." "I'm listening," I said, folding my arms. "Not here," she whispered, glancing around at the other hikers nearby. "Let's go back to the cabin." The walk back was agonizing. No one said a word. At the cabin, Michael mumbled, "I'll give you two some privacy," and disappeared into the bedroom to pack. Claire sat down at the kitchen table, her hands trembling. How did you find out? She asked softly. The beach photo, I said, pulling out my phone. You changed the date, but you forgot about the metadata. And then your email to Michael about this weekend. She closed her eyes. Tears ran down her cheeks. I never meant for this to happen. No one ever does, I said, surprised at how steady my voice was. How long has it been going on? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Deception. A carefully constructed illusion. Who is he? A client. Well, a former client now. We met at a company dinner. There was something there. A connection. And it kept happening. One connection strong enough to throw away 8 years of marriage. I asked. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said, looking up at me. I was selfish. I was bored. Our life became so predictable. That's marriage, Claire. That's life. It's not supposed to be a constant roller coaster. Just then, Michael came out of the bedroom with his suitcase. I'll go. Call me if anything. Don't wait for her, I said, standing up. She won't call you. Claire's eyes widened. Daniel, I need to. I cut her off. Tell me, Claire, did you ever plan on ending it? Or was I just the stable, boring husband who paid the mortgage while you chased your excitement somewhere else? She didn't answer, and that was answer enough. I'm going to spend the night up at the Mountain View Overlook, I told her. You can stay in the cabin, if you paid for it. But I'm going home tomorrow. I suggest you find another place to stay after that. Are you saying it's over? She asked, her voice small. I looked at her. This woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with. It ended 6 months ago, Claire. I'm just making it official now. As I drove away from the cabin, I felt a strange mix of heartbreak and relief. The truth hurt, but living a lie would have hurt even more. That night, alone in a small hotel room, I called Ryan. Told him everything. He offered to come get me, but I said no. I needed the quiet ride home to think, to process, to start healing. The next morning, I woke up to several missed calls and texts from Claire. I ignored them all. I checked out of the hotel and hit the road. At a rest stop halfway home, I finally listened to one of her voice messages. She was crying. Daniel, please. I made a terrible mistake. Michael means nothing to me. It was stupid. It was selfish. Please give me another chance. I love you. I've always loved you. Please call me back. I deleted it without replying. When I got home, I packed a suitcase with the essentials and moved in with Ryan. The next day, I contacted a divorce lawyer. 3 weeks later, I met Claire at a coffee shop. She looked terrible, thin, pale, dark circles under her eyes. Thank you for meeting me, she said quietly. What do you want, Claire? I want to apologize. One last time. And to tell you that I ended things with Michael. Completely. It was a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I looked at her. This woman who had once meant everything to me. You know what hurts the most? I said, it's not that you were with someone else. It's not even about the attraction or the sex. It's the lies, the planning, the calculated betrayal. For 6 months, you looked me in the eye and lied. You made up a fake conference just to spend a romantic weekend with him. You changed dates on photos. What kind of person does that to someone they claim to love? She had no answer. The divorce papers will be ready next week, I said, standing up. I really hope you find what you're looking for, Claire, but it won't be with me. As I walked away, I felt like a weight had been lifted. The pain was still there. It would be for a long time. But underneath it, something else was growing. A quiet sense of freedom. Freedom from a life filled with secrets, with metadata, and password checks. Freedom from constantly wondering where my wife really was. 6 months later, I sold our house and moved to Denver for a fresh start. Through mutual friends, I heard Claire had moved to Boston. I hope she's happy there. I hope she learned something from what happened between us. As for me, I'm slowly learning to trust again. I've started seeing someone new, Emma, a pediatric nurse with kind eyes and a direct way of speaking that I find refreshing. The other night, she left her phone on my coffee table while she went to the bathroom. The screen lit up with a message, clearly visible. For a second, I had the urge to check, to make sure, but I didn't. Instead, I turned the phone face down and waited for her to come back. Some wounds heal. Some lessons stay with us. And sometimes they leave behind the cracks we need to build something stronger the next time.